Get on your knees. Get on your knees.
In South Carolina, a family is taken hostage as part of a brazen bank robbery. Police track down the suspects, but they can't seem to keep the leader in jail. The FBI and police in 4 states are determined to stop him, but the armed fugitive is relentless in his struggle to stay free. On a Friday afternoon in October 1995, Parker and Brenda Shaw returned home with their granddaughter, Brianna. Parker tried to open the garage, but the remote door opener wasn't working. Not knowing someone was there, he went in the house to open the garage from inside.
Shut the door.
Outside, Brenda got tired of waiting. When the garage finally opened,
Come on, lady, let's go inside. This ain't no game, lady. Let's go. I ain't playing with you. Let's go. Come on, move it. Move it. Let's go. Come on. Upstairs, lady. Let's go. Let's go.
the man forced Brenda into the bedroom where her husband was being held by the other 2 intruders.
Look, lady. Cooperate, nobody gets hurt, okay?
The gunman stole money and credit cards from the frightened couple. But then the one who was clearly the leader announced he had really come for the Shaw's daughter, Amy, and the money at her bank. They would wait for her. They knew exactly when she was to arrive. The gunman ordered Brenda to the front door. She knew right away something was wrong.
Get over there. Get over there.
The leader grabbed Amy. He told her he had been watching them for some time. He knew their schedules, when they were vulnerable, everything. He began interrogating Amy about the security system at the bank. She said she could get him into the bank, but it took 2 codes to open the vault, and she only had 1.
You ready? All right, don't try anything funny. All right, turn around.
He said they'd deal with that when they got there, and warned her if anything went wrong, her family could get hurt.
Come on. Sorry.
Her parents and little girl could only hope that she would not be harmed. As they left, the kidnapper removed his mask to avoid looking suspicious in public. He told her that when they got inside, she was to explain all of her actions so he would know she wasn't setting off any alarms. But as she had explained, she could not open the main vault door alone. She had one combination, but a co-worker had the other. The lead assailant ordered Amy to call her co-worker for the second combination.
Hello? This is Amy.
When Amy asked, the co-worker hesitated, not understanding what was happening. Amy tried to explain that her family was being held hostage.
Okay, just calm down.
Fearing for Amy's safety, the co-worker gave her the second combination. Amy nervously punched in the second part of the combination, but the vault remained locked.
You gave me the wrong combination. Make it work or else.
She carefully tried again. And the door opened.
All right, yeah. Get the phone.
The robber had Amy make sure the co-worker stayed on the line.
Which one of the dot packs?
And he ordered her to point out which bins held bait money that was sequentially numbered or rigged with exploding die packs. He left that cache alone. After the robber loaded up the money, he ordered Amy to call her parents' home on a second line.
Come on, get up, get the phone.
The leader ordered
Yo,
his men
yo.
to take care of things at the house, then leave and page him when they were clear.
And get out.
He took off with more than $86,000. Once he was gone, Amy set off the alarm to bring help. Then, frantic with worry, she called home. Her mother warned her not to call police. The armed men were still there. But it was too late. She already had.
Mom, don't hang up. Mom.
The gunman checked the terrified family's bindings. It seemed like they were going to leave. But one hesitated.
Look, I'm out of here, man. Let's go.
There were 6 witnesses to the crime.
Yo, come on, man. Let's go.
At 8 p.m., Richmond County Sheriff's officers responded to the bank in Georgia and learned the real crime was across the river.
Sheriff's office, open up. Sir, step back.
The deputies checked the house for the intruders. They were gone.
They were safe. Nobody was hurt. Physically, they weren't hurt, but mentally, they had to be shattered. They really went through an ordeal.
Parker explained that the gunman took the keys to his son-in-law's car and described what they were wearing. Technicians from the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division had found oily shoe prints on the garage floor and photographed them for future comparison if suspects were located. From inside the house, technicians recovered a single cartridge from the bullet fired in the living room. It was from a .38 caliber handgun, but had no prints on it. At the top of the driveway, investigators located a vehicle stuck in a ditch. The technicians recovered foreign fingerprints from the vehicle. More evidence to compare to any later suspects. Clothes, masks, and gloves found in the bushes matched what the assailants reportedly had worn. Without the clothes, police didn't have much of a description of the suspects. They updated the already vague APB. 3 African-American males, 2 probably on foot, 1 in a dark blue sedan, armed and considered dangerous. Within an hour of the 911 call, an off-duty deputy was en route to the Shaw House when he heard the revised APB. He spotted 2 men, roughly fitting the description, walking away from the neighborhood where the Shaws lived. The deputy questioned the pair, according to Sheriff's investigator Don Bullock.
They asked them what they were doing there, and they said, we were up at the church playing basketball, and they had no basketball and no transportation.
The deputies knew the church mentioned had no lights on its basketball court. The young men agreed to go to a police staging area near the Shaw House for further questioning. They were identified as Daniel Evans and Lamarco Roscoe. The men had been unable to give details about the church where they had allegedly been playing basketball. Jones knew Amy Shaw was safe, but gambled that Roscoe did not. He told him his primary concern was Amy's safety. The suspect soon admitted his involvement in the crime. When asked for the name of the leader of the group, he said he only knew him by his first name, Chris, and believed his last name started with a J.
Another law enforcement officer who was familiar with a number of ne'er-do-wells in the Augusta area recognized the name and actually asked if that was in fact Christopher Jabert. which he replied that it was.
Investigators headed for Jaburk's house right away.
As it turns out, law enforcement was very familiar with Christopher Jaburk and knew where the residence was without any prompting.
And with a head start and $86,000 in cash, Christopher Jaburk could be anywhere. Although only 19 years old, Jaburk was already on a 5-year probation for burglary and escape from a detention center.
Got a couple questions to ask you. Cooperate.
The investigators took him in for questioning.
Yeah, we would just like to verify that in standard procedure.
His girlfriend agreed to come in too. At the sheriff's department, FBI Special Agent Jerry Jones questioned Jaburk about the kidnapping of the Shaw family and the bank robbery in Georgia.
I got a phone call from my girlfriend.
Jaburk admitted knowing the two confessed gunmen, Daniel Evans and Lamarco Roscoe, but denied any involvement in the crime.
He said that he couldn't tell us his whereabouts at the time of the robbery because he was involved in some other criminal activity. It was a drug deal in Atlanta, Georgia, according to him.
Federal authorities charged him with 6 counts, including conspiracy, carjacking, kidnapping, and armed bank robbery.
After further interviews with Jaburk, he finally started cooperating and told us that he was involved in this robbery and kidnapping, and that he was actually the one that did it, but he wasn't the mastermind, that he was involved with some large-scale criminal organization, and that he couldn't reveal any more information because he was afraid for his family.
It was another obvious lie by a man desperately trying to protect himself. Jaburk's partners, Daniel Evans and Lamarco Roscoe, pleaded guilty to state charges of burglary, kidnapping, and armed robbery. They were sentenced to 30 years in prison. Christopher Jaburk was prosecuted by Assistant U.S. Attorney Richard Goolsby. Jaburk was convicted on all 6 counts, which made him eligible for a sentence of life in prison without parole. While awaiting sentencing, Jaburk was held at a small county jail. There, he met another inmate. Jerome Frierson Bay, also a bank robber, was awaiting trial on 3 armed robberies. At the time, the jail was undergoing construction to expand the facility.
Asked that one guard out that door.
There was plenty of time to plan an escape. On March 27, 1996, a guard on routine patrol noticed an open door. A head count revealed 2 inmates were missing, Christopher Jaburk and Jerome Frierson Bay. Search teams combed the woods, but no one spotted the men. Authorities believed the pair might have had help on the outside. Jaburk's escape posed a danger to the Shaw family, who had testified at his trial. Then, FBI Special Agent Doug Fender developed a surprising lead.
Myself and other local law enforcement officials were conducting a separate auto theft investigation in the Augusta, Georgia area concerning the theft of a green Mitsubishi Eclipse. We were able to identify an individual in jail who indicated that he had transferred this stolen vehicle to one of the female associates of Jaburk.
The day after the escape, a car matching that description pulled up to a bank in Lumberton, North Carolina, 220 miles northeast of the jail.
Right, just take the money.
2 men in hats, gloves, and sunglasses robbed the bank at gunpoint. Security cameras were rolling during the robbery. The images were too blurry to make out faces, but the descriptions given by employees resembled Jaburk and Frierson Bay. Tracking the pair became a matter of following a trail of bank robberies.
What we noticed was a trend of bank robberies that were occurring up and down the I-95 corridor.
In some of the robberies, men matching the description of one or both of the fugitives were captured on surveillance video.
We believe that Jaburk and Frierson Bay parted company, and Jaburk began his journey back to Georgia.
The FBI announced a $10,000 reward and had begun the process of adding him to their 10 most wanted fugitives list when a media report generated a promising lead.
Just a moment.
A caller said she believed the fugitive was staying with her minister in Atlanta, though the minister didn't know Jaburk was a criminal. An arrest team staked out the residents, dressed as yard workers. On May 9th, 1996, a vehicle pulled into the minister's driveway. When the driver emerged, agents visually identified him.
What's going on?
It was Jaburk.
Finishing up the yard work for the old man?
The arrest team moved in.
Hands up, FBI! Hands up! Hands up! Hey, what's going on?
Surprised and cornered, Jaburk did not try to run.
When Jaburk was apprehended in Atlanta, we thought the pressure was off, and everybody took a big sigh of relief and went home for a short period of time.
Jaburk was not giving up. Six weeks after his recapture, he once again broke out of his cell.
When he got through the window of the jail, there's a huge double fence around the confinement area covered with concertina wire. So he had to get over that fence and over the concertina wire.
Agents searched the grounds and the fence topped with the razor-sharp wire. They recovered shreds of a prison uniform. They hoped he hadn't gotten far.
We immediately brought in tracking dogs, which led us directly to the wooded area. So we knew the route of escape that he was trying to accomplish.
They searched dozens of square miles with the highly sensitive equipment. But somehow, Jaburk managed to avoid detection and was still on the run. Four days later, an off-duty sheriff's deputy in nearby Appling, Georgia, thought he spotted the fugitive. The deputy called the station, and other officers spread out to search the area.
He was tracked into a wooded area right behind one of the grammar schools and apprehended.
Right there. Hands up.
Christopher Jaburk was again in custody. 2 weeks later, he was finally sentenced for robbing the Augusta Bank and kidnapping Amy Shaw and her family. Jaburk was transferred to the maximum security federal penitentiary in Atlanta, Georgia.
Even if Harry Houdini was in the Atlanta federal pen, he wouldn't be able to get out, and Christopher Jaburk is no Harry Houdini.
No one doubts Jaburk will try again. But now, he is held in one of the most secure prisons in America.